All right, I'd like to welcome you to this edition of In the Conference Room with Mark S. Lee. I want you to sit back and relax and enjoy the conversation. As you know, we have conversations with great business leaders, not just from across the great city of Detroit, the state of Michigan, but also from across the country. We're going to continue that trend in a moment. But before we proceed, I have to say to all of you, I hope you're staying warm. I don't know about you, but I'm cold and certainly cold outside. We want you to stay warm and just be safe. Just be safe right now. I know it's extremely cold, not just here in Michigan and Metro Detroit, but across the country. All right, I'm so pleased to welcome. We're gonna have a very special introduction and then get into a conversation. I'll explain that to you in a moment. I'd like to welcome Mr. Bryan Robertson. Bryan is Vice President of Business Development for Amentum, which is the second largest U.S. Defense Services company, and he is responsible for military sales worldwide. He's going to explain that to you. I'm also pleased to announce that Bryan also graduated from Eastern and Michigan University with me, and we're fraternity brothers. I'm gonna get that out of the way. Full disclosure, we're fraternity brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. We both pledged together at Eastern and Michigan University. But if you go further on, he also served for 30 years and was promoted to the rank of Brigadier General. Brigadier General, and he has spent three deployments. One to Iraq. He also was in support of the Hurricane Katrina relief, and he worked at the White House. And we'll get a little bit of information about that as well. Bryan Roberts, good to see you, my man. How you doing, man?
Hey, Mark, I'm doing great, man. It's great to see you as well. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We're going to unpack this conversation, but before we do, full disclosure, you all know, you all know about my affinity and my love and my affection for our beloved Detroit Lions. And unfortunately, we lost. The Lions, I should say, lost this past weekend. But Bryan is from the Washington, D.C. area, and he is certainly a true fan of the Washington Commanders. And we want to make sure we give the proper due and the proper respect. So, Bryan, I want to turn over to you and say congratulations for an outstanding game against the Detroit Lions, and give you anything that you wanted to say about the game this past weekend.
Well, Mark, I just want to say a couple things. First off, my daughter and I are season ticket holders to the Washington Commanders, so we've been watching them mature over the season, and they were really primed for the opportunity to play against the great Detroit Lions. And throughout the season, until then, you and I have been, both supporting the Detroit Lions because I kind of jumped on that bandwagon, having been, a Michigander while in college. But the commanders of my team, Jaden Daniels and the entire team is just firing on all cylinders and really looking forward to playing against the Philadelphia Eagles. We like the Detroit fans. They were very hospitable.
Yeah.
Can't say the same for the Philadelphia Eagles, but hopefully we go in there and quiet them down. I really appreciate our 47-year relationship, our friendship over the years with Eastern Michigan. And, before I forget, I do want to just send a shout out and prayers out to those affected by the California fires. Certainly, widespread national event that we should all be, praying for. Amentum, as you mentioned, is part of CAL FIRE. So, those airplanes that you see and helicopters you see with the orange plume of smoke, powder coming out, that's us flying in support of the firefighters there in California.
So let's start there. And let me just say one more thing before we jump into the conversation. Yes, Bryan and I have known each other for a long time, but the last couple of years we've been exchanging. We had a group text message exchange, and so really quick funny story. As the Lions were going through their trials and tribulations of last year, I would text Bryan. I said, "Man, you got to keep my head above water. You got to support me." And he, being a good Washington man, was supporting me. And then obviously, as Washington was getting their way to Detroit, we were supporting him as well. So the friendship and the bond is truly deep between the two cities, and
Yep.
obviously between the two of us. No question about that. And good luck to the Commanders moving forward. So let's
Thank
jump
you.
right there. Amentum, give us an overview, background of the organization and what your responsibilities are with them.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So as you mentioned, Amentum is the second largest U.S. defense services company, which means We're not an original equipment manufacturer. We don't produce a product. In fact, people are a product, and we're very proud of the 53,000 employees we have working worldwide. About 85% of them are actually on site with the customer. We're in 80 countries, all seven continents, and our annual revenue is about 15 billion. Back in September, we entered the New York Stock Exchange. We're proud to be a veteran-friendly company, and also proud, very, very proud, to be supporting all the federal departments and agencies, primarily focused on DoD, Department of Defense, and Department of State, but all the federal departments and agencies. We're also proud of our relationship with the U.S. Army's Tank, Automotive, and Armaments Command. They're in Warren, Michigan. So what we do, and our forte is maintenance, logistics, and training on U.S. equipment, both for those federal departments and agencies and also our allies. So tanks and helicopters and airplanes and armored personnel carriers, those systems, especially that TACOM sort of host out of their headquarters. As you mentioned, I work for military sales, which means that I'm responsible for interacting with our allies to ensure that the vehicles they've purchased, the airplanes they've purchased, the helicopters they've purchased, have the proper personnel to work on them, to maintain them, to ensure they're fully mission capable, and they can do that stuff without U.S. assistance long term. Mm-hmm. So we're giving them the capability to do things themselves once we sell that equipment to them.
So obviously a close partner, I was assuming, with the U.S. Department of Defense as well.
Yes. So yeah. DoD, all the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, as Department of Transportation, are our main customers, and we do that, as I said, in 80 countries. So, for example, we maintain all the president's, the United States president's airplanes and helicopters at Andrews Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. We maintain all the U.S. Army's tanks and armored personnel carriers and support equipment in Germany, Kuwait, and Poland. We have several contracts with TACOM. The largest is about $400 million contract that we won, which supports Ukraine. So we have a facility in Poland, maintenance facility. All the vehicles that the U.S. provides Ukraine that needs maintenance support goes through that facility. We fix it, and then we ship it into Ukraine. Once it's damaged, it comes back to us. We fix it, and we get it back in the fight. That's the nature of our support to our allies.
You think about that relationship and the economic power, right? I mean, I'm sure it's a lot of money that's being expended and spent certainly to handle this equipment. You talk about Warren, Michigan. For those of you tuning in, Warren, Michigan is a suburb of Detroit. Certainly is houses from automotive industry over there as well. Talk about the importance of TACOM to metropolitan Detroit, to the state of Michigan, in terms of employment opportunities, in terms of the services they provide in relationship to you, to Amentum as well.
Well, I tell you, Mark, my relationship with TACOM started back in 1980s when I visited the plant, and they were actually producing the M1 tank. Mm-hmm. And they had a test track for M1s, they had one for Humvees, and they were supporting the largest and most powerful army in the world, ours. So I mean, they manage billions of dollars of contracts supporting especially the U.S. Army, but they also support small businesses and medium and large businesses out of Michigan. We work with several of them because they are niche companies that produce things that you can't buy off the shelf, for example. Economically, I mean, I don't know how many people TACOM employs, but it's thousands. I mean, it's a huge complex. You see it every time you drive, into Warren. And they support the entire United States Army, which is, the largest army in the world. So lots of small companies, medium and large companies um, benefit from the contracts that the TACOM manages.
And important to understand. That's one I was looking for this conversation too. Is I think the city of Detroit, for example, we have over 62,000. I'm talking about the city now, 2,000 small businesses in the city of Detroit, downtown, an 8 mile telegraph over to Gratiot, which is the west side to the east side, which makes it, according to the most recent U.S. Census data, which is a little bit dated at the time, the fourth largest city in the country in terms of the number of small businesses. Then you throw what Taycom is doing in Warren, Michigan. You see the economic impact and the power across Metro Detroit in terms of jobs and economic development. And I think, Bryan, a lot of people are not necessarily sure how do they engage with like organizations such as yours or organizations that are doing business with the government. That's a huge business opportunity for small businesses and contractors, isn't it?
It really is, Mark. So all of our um, organizations like TACOM have small business offices,
Hmm.
and they're very receptive to appointments, to visits, to conversations about their capabilities, how to get registered as a small business with large businesses like mine, pointing them in the right direction. So I would, highly recommend connecting with the small business offices, wherever you are. And in this case, of course, TACOM has a very large small business office. They also host conferences and seminars. Amentum participates quite frequently with the National Defense Industrial Association, the Michigan chapter. They host several events. The Association of the United States Army Michigan chapter has a conference. Small businesses are welcome there to interact with large companies like us, medium and small, of course, and our competitors. But there are job and contract opportunities that are discussed at those conferences and symposiums. So, I highly recommend, particularly there in Detroit, in Michigan, to get over and see that small business office and to meet with those professionals. Amentum has a small business office. We invite you to connect with our small business office. I can leave my email address. Connect with me. I'll connect companies with the small business office. Get registered with Amentum. So if we need somebody to make some of that stuff that you can't buy off the shelf or to provide personnel, we can reach out to those small businesses and hopefully get them on our team.
And a lot of times, and for those of you tuning in, we're talking to Brian Roberts out of the Washington, D.C. area. And we're talking about doing business in the defense space, if you will. And there's a lot of opportunity there. We don't know a lot about that. A lot of times we think of, especially here in Detroit, we think of the traditional automotive industry. We know the city and the state of Michigan is diversifying economically. There are clearly a lot of opportunities, but this is a unique opportunity in terms of the defense area where dollars are being spent. They're looking for contractors. And you heard Bryan say that there are small business opportunities, there are resources out there. Just to be clear, TACOM is spelled TACOM, right? Is that right? TACOM.
Correct.
If you want to check out what the website is over there, but I don't know if you have a handle what the website might be, but certainly you can Google TACOM, TACOM, for more information. From a Amentum standpoint, how to get in touch, what we'll do is post the website or give me the website, I should say, and we'll make sure that people have access to the website. But how do you spell Amentum and what is the website?
Well, it's essentially amentum.com. So AMENTUM.com. And
Right.
you put
And
that
that's at the
in, it takes you to our website, and you can connect with us through the website.
Yeah, and we have it at the bottom of the screen as well. I do want to segue before we let you go. I just appreciate your time, but working in the White House, I mean, also you are certainly a brigadier general. I mean, that's to a lot of people. I mean, that's impressive. But explain to those tuning in a brigadier general exactly what does that entail? What exactly is that role, responsibility, and what was your role at the White House?
Mark, I worked at the White House as a captain, so very long time ago. But while there, I was part of the president's emergency planning team. So the documents that go inside what we refer to as the football, that the military aid carries, we put together those plans. I was on a flyaway team with the with the organization in case there was an emergency. I often went out ahead of the president to assist with the Secret Service's reconnaissance, site survey of an area, uh, in order to make sure everything was in place in case there was a reason to evacuate. That was a very rewarding experience between Bush and Clinton administrations. Um, as a brigadier general, I was deployed to Iraq, where I was working foreign military sales, assisting Iraq build their army after it was, torn down. Um, and I also worked at the largest U.S. Army training base as the commanding general, where we produce about 43 um, soldiers a year for our United States Army.
Okay. Well, appreciate your service. And we mean that. Thank you for your time this afternoon. And this is awesome conversation, Bryan. I just appreciate you and just taking a few minutes out of your busy schedule and just sharing with us information about Momentum, the opportunities to take on here in Metro Detroit. And you know what? Okay, I'll say it, man. I'm go Commanders for you. Go
Thanks a lot,
Commanders.
Mark.
All right.
Yo, hey
Oh,
man, hey, all's fair and love and war, right? I'll be heading out to Poland, Qatar, and Iraq in the next couple weeks, doing what we do in Amentum, which is working with our allies and our great army and other services to make sure we're ready.
and we appreciate your service. I've known this man for a long time. He's dedicated to this great country of ours, to his level of service. Man, thank you. We appreciate you. I appreciate that.
Hey, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. Thanks to the league group.
For all of you for tuning in to this week's edition of This Week in the Conference Room, I want you to spread the word. And don't forget to subscribe as well to YouTube, the YouTube channel for Conference Room. I want you to go out and make it a great day, make it a great week. Stay warm. And we will check you out next time in the Conference Room with Mark S. Lee. Talk to you all soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.